Okay. Let's just start out. Tell me, just kind of tell me what your version of where you were born and how you got out, how your parents got out here and stuff.
Well, I was born right here in this place right here where I live now. My mother and daddy lived here most all their married life. And I had 4 sisters and 4 brothers that lived, 3 brothers lived to adulthood, and one of them was killed when he was 21 in a horse accident. They tell lots of stories on me. Of course, I was a baby of our family, and supposedly, I don't think so, but they all told me I was spoiled. The boys and girls worked in the fields back then. We worked with mules and horses in the field. The girls worked in the field right beside the boys, hired hands. We were out doing just exactly what the men were doing. Took all of us to make a living. When I was a kid, we milked 15, 20 cows twice a day. We separated the cream from the milk and fed the cream to the milk to the calves, and took the cream to Turkey, and it went to Trinidad, Colorado. And Mother fed us and clothed us with what money that cream brought in. And
What were your sisters and brothers' names? I need to get that all.
brothers' names.
Brothers and sisters' names.
I had 4 sisters. Opal was the oldest. Liza and Molly, Allie and then Molly. And my oldest brother was Millard. And then I had a brother named Clayton. And France was the one next to me, and there was an infant death between the 2 of us. So we were real close. He worked here with my dad until he went to the army, and then he came back and bought part of the place, and we worked together until he passed away.
Your dad had been out here for...
My dad had been here since he was a kid in this vicinity. He went to Kansas for a while, and then came back here and stayed the rest of his life.
Was he raising horses or just farming?
He raised horses more or less for use in the field. And of course, we had cattle too. We worked in the fields from Monday until Sunday, and on Sunday we went to pastures and worked the cattle. Of course, back then we had screwworms, and it was an all-day job, doctoring screwworms. But that's the way we managed it. Yeah. And he fed his own calves out. We raised, of course, Milo and stuff like that, and hay. We fed our own calves out, and then back then we shipped them to stockyards in Fort Worth. Maybe a 1,000-pound calf, you got it down there to bring 25 cents a pound.
Yeah. Where'd you take them to ship them? Was there a railhead near here?
Trucks would come in here and pick them up.
Oh.
That was after my grandpa was, I guess he'd been here, I don't know how long. Mary should have to tell you that. She's the one that goes back to the history, but he was foreman for the Goodnight Ranch for I don't know how long.
So you have that somewhere in there.
And when they sold out, why, he bought the brand and moved over here about 4 or 5 miles from where I live. 3 or 4 miles, something like that.
So when did they get this place? You bought this from your dad?
Several years before they passed away, they sold it to each one of us kids. They did this. Since I was the only one that hadn't married, well, I got the home place. And we paid on it until they passed away, and then the rest of it came to us as an inheritance. We paid about half of it, I suppose, maybe a little more. So it was inheritance and bought too.
Did everybody work on it still, or?
I'm hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did everybody stay and work on it, or?
Oh no! After the girls married and the boys married, well, they all went to their separate ways. Before my brother went to the army, why, he and I and my dad and hired help run the whole thing. And then when he come back, he bought his part. He bought part of the place. And after that, it's just me and my dad until they divided it up.
How big a place was it originally?
I think there's 13 sections originally.
How much do you have now?
I've just got a section and a half. Just enough to keep me busy.
That's plenty to stay busy. Are you running
Keeps me out of
cattle
trouble. I've got a few cows. I raised horses for several years. We raised some awful pretty horses, some awful good horses.
Yeah. When did you, I've got stories in here about when you first started riding that thing.
Oh, they tell that story on me. They tell me that my dad tied me on when I was too little to sit on. He'd tie me on, and then when I'd go to sleep, and when he'd take me off, why, I'd cry to get back on. But anyway, he bought a great big old paint horse, and he was a stallion, I think, when he bought him. But anyway, he castrated this horse, and he was mine, and he was an awful good kid horse. But if any other horses ran by him, why, he just had to run too. Well, I fell off of him one day, and I come back to the house, and my oldest sister asked me, said, "Where'd you hit?" I said, "Well, I hit on the ground. Where in the hell do you think I hit?" They tell me that on me. I don't know whether it's true or not.
They have that story in everything I've read.
And I've asked every one of my sisters before any of them passed away. Of course, just Mary, Mama, and they're only two left of our whole family. And I don't know where in the world I come up with that name, Dude, but that's, as far as I know, they called me that ever since I was a little bitty too.
Just stuck with that. When I was told Dixie that I called you, she said, "Did you call her Dude?" I said, "Well, not the first time." She said, "Did she hang up on you?" I said, "No." She said, "When you go talk to her, you call her Dude. Don't call her anything else."
I sure that Dixie, she's something else.
So you, well, when did you start riding in rodeos? When did you get into?
I guess my first show was in '39. They had a show down here at Matador, and I rode in it. I think I don't know where the judges were prejudiced or what, but yeah, I happened to win it. And from then on, I went to every one I could go to.
Yeah. Would you ride the first one, or was it?
Most of them sponsor contests when we first started out. You know, that's all they had. Judged on the attire and how pretty your horse was and how well you rode. Yeah. And then the next year they had another show down there, and H.H. Schweitzer made a saddle for the sponsors, and I won it. And from then on, I would just, every little old town, Floydada, Kittiquah, Turkey, every little old town had a rodeo sometime during the summer. Of course, we worked all week. On weekends, the only time we could get off. And like I told Dixie, she came by here from that deal at Abilene. I told her, I said, we certainly didn't go for how much money we could make, because we won it all. We didn't make over $25. But we had fun and made lots of friends. Lordy, I wouldn't take for all those friends I made while I was doing it.
Yeah. What made you get started? How did you get interested in rodeo? I mean, did y'all do stuff around here, or did you just decide?
Well, it's just I don't know really how it started. I guess just entertainment for the people. You know, there wasn't much going on. Yeah. They had to have these little rodeos, and cowboys in the country come around. It was all amateur then, ranch people.
Yeah. What made you think that you would enjoy it? Just something.
Well, that's all I'd done all my life, was ride and work on the farm.
Yeah. Did y'all were raising horses at the time? Did you raise your own horse? Or?
The first horse I had, Mary Sue's granddaddy gave it to me. First horse I had that I rodeoed on. And we called him Old Hawk. And I rode him for a good long while. And in the meantime, my dad had give Mary Sue's granddaddy a mare that we had raised. And W.E. broke her, and then they gave her back to me, and I rode her then for several years. And W.E. had a horse that he roped off of all the time. He rodeoed some and roped some. We went to Fort Worth a couple of times, and he rode it out there on the north side, roped. Anyway, he had a horse that he roped off of, and we called him Debbie Leo Daniel. That was when Debbie Leo was going great. And I roped off him all the time. But this other mare I cut and rode barrels and whatever else I did.
How old were you when you did your first rodeo?
I think I was about 16 the first year I rode, 16, 17.
Okay. Did you do, it says here that you were a football sweetheart at Matador. Were you really involved in stuff at school too, or?
Yes, played basketball, all that, baseball, or softball. I was in all kinds of sports. Yeah. Everything that the girls could be in at that time.
When did you, let's see.
I started school at Matador and finished at Matador.
Okay. It says that you went to, let's see. I got a list of stuff that you won. First one I have though is the football sweetheart at Matador, and then it talked about Shannon Davidson Day. And
well, that's when they had the first show down at Matador. It was to honor him. He had ridden on that Pony Express race from Nakona to somewhere in California, San Francisco. And he won that, and they were honoring him. That's the reason they had that deal in '39.
Oh, okay. And then there was the Old Settlers. Was that a regular rodeo?
They have that every year, still do. It's a 3-day affair.
Did you go every year?
As long as I was rodeoing, I did.
Okay. Did you win most of the time?
Well, her daddy and I won the ribbon roping one time.
How many were entered?
I don't remember.
What events did you do when you rodeoed?
Well, I did everything but rough stock. I didn't ride bulls or horses.
Yeah.
I tried everything else.
Just didn't want to try those, or you'd have enough of it here at home?
I knew I couldn't ride them. That year they had that, I'll tell this on myself, I still think about it and laugh about it. That year they had that all-girl show at Nancy and Tina May, I guess, had that show up there. I don't think I've ever told Mary Sue that. They didn't have enough entries in the bull riding. So they got trying to get me in it. I think it's 3-day affair. Well, I come out on 2 of them, and of course I didn't ride them till they jumped hardly. And that last night, well, I was so sore when they opened the gate, I just stood up and let him run out. I don't think I could have sat on another one of them.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. When you started rodeo, after you got started, according to this, you won a lot.
I did pretty good. Not any better than the rest of them, but I did. I won won my part of it, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I was reading in here that you competed against men.
Yeah.
They got to where they wouldn't want to compete against.
That was down there at Roaring Springs, where of course that was just all local. It's 2-county fair.
Yeah.
And it's just all local. They let me perform with them. Not that I ever won down there, other than that one time, but as far as riding with the men.
Yeah. Now you rodeoed during World War II.
Yes.
So how did it change after
Well,
you started?
it changed a lot because, of course, gas was rationed. We didn't have much, and we couldn't go any further than just maybe 30, 40 miles, as far as we could go. And a lot of the shows quit until after that was over with. It sure did slow things down. And then after peace, they started up again. We started going. That's when those all-girl shows started, I think.
Did you rodeo much during the war, or did they have very many?
Pardon?
Any rodeos during the war?
Oh yeah, there's a few around locally shows, that's all entertainment we had back then. Just like maybe one at Kitty Quay, Turkey, or Floydada, Paducah.
Huh. What was reading this, they said they had, doesn't have a date on this, they talked about having match contests as,
Well,
draw crowds in for rodeos.
I had a match contest with Margaret Montgomery, I believe it was, at Midland. And I won it, and then I had one with somebody else, and I don't remember who that was, but she won it. I think it was with Fern at Plainview.
Hmm.
But I've forgotten who was matched, but we didn't have many of those.
Yeah. What'd you have to do in the match contest?
All just like the boys do now. We roped so many calves, and whoever got the best time won it.
Yeah. Okay. How did the GRA come about? How did you get involved with that? I mean, was it just
Well, we just got talking about the boys. They was paying them so much more to come and compete, and we were going to spend the same kind of money. And we decided we'd see if we couldn't make it a little more better. And we farmed that, and I think it helped.
Well, how did you? What was the first rodeo that y'all did? The first sport that you organized?
I really don't know. I've forgotten.
Do you remember who all was in on the first? You were what, vice president, vice chair?
Yeah, I was vice president for the first go round, but I was busy. I couldn't go to meetings, so I I had so much to do here at home that I couldn't go to meetings. So after the first year, I told them to vote me out. But
Do you remember who all was in it? I know Fern. And,
seemed like it Jackie and Fern, and I'll tell you for sure I don't remember. Probably Margaret Montgomery. And that's about the only ones I can remember. Who was president? Do you have that?
let's see. School rodeo.
But that's been a long time ago, and I can't remember what happened yesterday.
Well, I got that in here somewhere. I just read it this morning. And that's some of the ones that they have listed as you being as participating in. I'll see if I can find that list of names.
Yeah, I'd forgot that was Sidney Oakley that I had that match roping with his spur.
Said, let's see. Yeah, it says Sidney Oakley.
Yeah. And I beat her, but Fern beat me, I think, at Plainview.
And then I have one here that says at South Wayland College.
Yeah, that's one.
Matched against Fern.
Yeah.
What was the balloon race? Motley Dickens Old Settlers Reunion said you won the balloon race.
I don't remember that. I remember running there at the balloons. It must have been a flag race.
Huh.
Could have been a flag race.
Maybe I didn't.
Well, on the flag races, they stick that flag in a bucket sitting on top of a barrel, and you ride around that barrel and grab that flag. It's a timed event.
Yeah.
They still do that a lot now.
Says you won, let's see, Floyd Eddy.
Yeah, I won a saddle up there.
How many saddles you win?
I think I just won 4 or 5.
You won a trailer at front of it.
Yeah, that trailer, I won a saddle. I was the only person to ever win that trailer in the saddle at Midland.
Let's see.
That same year, I mean.
Yeah. But,
Unless it happened after that for someone else.
I don't know. I haven't read about anybody else. I'm just kind of going through this. What the stuff they gave me. It said you were at Fort Worth in '42. Won 2 saddles, spurs, and $250. And was named one of the 10 champions.
Yeah, there was 10 ladies. They were in. It was an invitation deal, and they had what they call the musical chairs, and we all rode around these chairs until the music stopped, and we got off and got a chair. And whoever was last two that were there, they rode down to the far end of the arena and had to get off their horse and sit in the chair before the other person did.
The next rodeo has one that says all. This is one of the all-girl rodeos in Wichita Falls, so you just won
Yeah.
everything.
Well, what was that lady's name? Faye. I'm going to forget.
Faye Kirkwood.
Yeah, I was trying to say that. She sponsored that, and she sure did have a good show. She had a good turnout, and she paid pretty good.
Did the pay get any better while you were rodeoing?
Oh, no, not really.
I heard a complaint the other day that it still hasn't got any better.
I don't know, these girls riding those barrels now are sitting up there at $80,000 and better.
Yeah, I think in those they are, and the GRA rodeos are still.
Well, I don't think they're having many GRA rodeos now.
The finals the other day in Fort Worth, I ran into Jan Yoren. Not ran into her, actually talked to her. She was telling me that.
I was asking Dixie the other day when she came by here, I said, are they having any girl rodeos now? And she's kind of like I was, she didn't know.
Yeah, I think they're still in existence. They're, let's see, Jerry Monroe was telling me that they're a separate, not completely separate, but with the Women's Rodeo Association, they're kind of under that umbrella, but they're not on equal terms yet.
But these old boys riding those bulls, they make a lot of money, but don't you know they're wore out when they retire?
Oh, yeah, I met a couple of the women that rode bulls. I don't know how you can live with having broken bones. You never got hurt though, did you?
No, I was real lucky. I never did get hurt.
I guess being raised around this stuff.
Pardon?
So I guess being raised around.
I imagine that had a lot to do with it. I was used to doing everything that I did,
Yeah.
more or less.
Did y'all? Well, it probably wasn't a whole lot different going from a rodeo from here if you were working all week and then
No, just get
saddle
it,
up.
load them in the trailer and take off. That's back then. We was pulling them in those open trailers. They didn't have any front end them or anything. The little horse just standing up there with the head down and going 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Now they got these trailers. They're air conditioned and all that. The trailers are air conditioned, let alone the vehicle they ride in.
I don't know what. Seen some I would live in. Let's see. It says after you settled down. Now this may be out of sequence a little bit. So after you quit rodeo. When did you quit?
I quit in the late 50s.
Any reason?
Well, I don't know. I just got tired of going, I guess. I got to raising horses and messing around, doing my own thing, trying to make a living, in other words.
Yeah. Say that you got built a reputation for the quarter horses you were raising. That you had some
Well,
nice horses.
after my mother passed away, there's a lady down at Matador that had been a nurse, and she loved horses, and I never did like to work in the house, so Dad asked me what we going to do after Mother passed away, and I said, well, let's see if we can get Stinson to come out here. So we propositioned her, and she came out, and she and I bought a stud together and started raising horses. We did real well with them.
Yeah.
And we had a stud named Star Benji Bar, and we showed a bunch of his colts and did real well with them. We sold a lot of them, and they did well too.
So you started doing horse shows?
We took them to horse shows.
Yeah. How had y'all been raising horses before? Is that one of y'all?
Well, we've always had a stallion here. The first stallion Dad bought, our first one, we had stallions as long as I was living, I guess. But the first really quarter horse stallion he bought him from Bob Crosby. They were at Mineral Wells at that anyway, down there taking treatments at those.
Oh, at the
And Bob was there, and of course Bob, he was opposite. He is so crippled he couldn't hardly move. You know, he'd been broke up so much. And he told Papa about this Palomino stallion, and he bought him from him, and I mean, he was a beautiful horse. And of course, we kept the better mares and just started breeding him and went from there on.
yeah. Well, I guess doing that you learn how to judge it.
Yeah.
When you went looking for horses.
First tractors we ever owned, my dad traded horses for them. You know, that take a lot of horses to buy a tractor, but of course back then you could buy one for $400 or $500.
Yeah.
But
What was a horse worth? A good horse worth at that time?
I get one trained, might get $500 for him if he's real good back early.
Yeah.
And then of course they just like cattle, they're up and down. They say now one that's trained and going good to bring $8,000 and $10,000.
What did y'all stay with one kind? Did you stay with the Palominos, or just were you trying to just raise quarter horses, or?
We stayed with quarter horses. My dad loved paint horses. That's those pictures you saw. Yeah, he loved paint horses. We had paint horses, and Palomino horses, and sorrels, and maize, and every other kind of color. But he's the one that loved the paints.
Yeah.
And he had one as long as he lived.
Really? How long did he live? How old was he when?
He was 87 when he passed away.
Was he still riding?
It hadn't been not when he was 87, but it wasn't been too many years before that he did.
Yeah.
He
Great. So
He's kind of like I am. He's got stiff in those younger years. It's hard for him to get on.
Saw Connie Reeves the other day. She turned 100 when she went to Walden Cowgirl. And I guess I don't know whether she's still riding or not. Until recently, she was still.
Well, it said in that deal got from the Cowgirl Hall of Fame that she was there for not the flag raising, but when they had what they call it?
Groundbreaking.
Yeah. They said she rode her horse that day.
When y'all, after your dad died and you decided to.
Well, see, I took over running my part of it in probably. Mama passed away in '67. Is that right, Mary? And I took over running this about 65, I guess.
Yeah.
It was. So, it's been mine that long,
Yeah.
and I was responsible for everything.
Did you stay with raising horses? Or?
I raised horses until about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I got so stiff, I had arthritis in my arms, and I got so stiff I couldn't halter break my colts.
No.
So, you can't hire anybody to do something like that, so I decided it's time to quit.
What do you look for in a horse when you go out to buy one for breeding? What would you look for?
Well, you look at their legs, if they're straight, if their feet are straight, and I'm awful bad about see how pretty I think they are.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
Really, this lady that worked for me, she was better at picking horses than I was.
Yeah.
I had two geldings, and I had a great niece that's wanting to show. So I told her, I said, now you can come down here and pick out whichever one of these geldings you want. But I said, I'm going to show against you with the other one. So she come and picked out the one she wanted. And we'd go to the horse shows, and she'd win one show, and I'd win the next one. And there's a picture of him, that little girl on the wall. She was sitting 7th with him at the World Show. But I sold mine. I don't know what he did after I sold him.
Where all did you show? Did you show just in Texas?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know what year we started, but We showed a long time.
I don't know that much about horse shows. I know there's different categories for it. How
We usually just showed in the halter classes.
yeah.
We didn't, either one of us ride enough to show in the performance classes.
Racehorse, really?
Yeah, we did our stud. We bought this Star Benji bar. He is Ben Bar by 3 bars, and he's Oklahoma Star on his mother's side. And of course, 3 bars had a lot of running blood in him. We decided one year we'd put him in training. Well, we took him to Jim. I can't even call his last name now. I've known him all years, but we took him off down there and put him in training. And of course, we didn't have any money. We just broke as we could be, and it took every dime we had to put him in down there. And they put him in, had him in one race, and we went down there to watch him run, and he was way out ahead. And we told him when we took him down there, I said, now don't hit him. If you hit him, he's going to quit. So he was way out ahead, just about to win that race, and that jockey thought he'd get a time on him, faster time. Rating, I guess what I should say. He hit that horse, and he just quit. They just went by him like he was standing still. And of course, by then, we'd spent every dime we had. We had to bring him home. We couldn't leave him any longer. Jackie Worthington was with us. Of course, we bought him from Jackie. That's where we got him. And, of course, she was just as proud of him as we were. But I tell you, he was a good stallion. We sure did raise some good colts out of him. And gentle-natured. If he hadn't have been, he'd kill us.
How long did you have him?
We've got him when he was 2-year-old, and he died when he was 24, 25. We had a real bad ice storm, and I don't remember what year it was. But he stepped on a piece of hay wire just enough to go up in that hoof. And Viola had been in the hospital. She'd had some kind of surgery. And she nursed all those years. If anything happened, I come to her to just tell me what it was. So I went and fed him that morning. I come back and I said, Stinson, there's something bad wrong with Benji. I said, you need to go look at him. And she went out there, and his ears was already stiffened up. And we both come to the same conclusion that he had lockjaw. And so we called the vet. At that time, he was at Memphis. And we called him, and he come over here and diagnosed us and told me what was wrong with him, what he'd have to do for him. He come every day on ice, solid ice from Childers or Memphis over here for about a week and give that stud medication in his spine. And to keep him from getting down while we tied him up out there in his stable, put tarps around the front of him and put a heater in there with him. And he just never did get any better. Well, the vet decided he'd better look at his feet. So he looked at 3 feet, but that front foot that was next to the barn, he couldn't raise it up on account of him turning over. So we never did get to look in that foot. He finally got where we could turn him loose. We looked in that foot, and that piece of wire was still sticking up in there, keeping that poison going in him, Well, most times they'll have such high fever that they're not good for breeding after that. But anyway, all that week he stood up out there while Stinson took him water. Of course, he couldn't eat because he couldn't open his mouth. So she hit up on the idea that she had fixing some soup out of alfalfa hay. So she come in, she loved animals better than anybody I ever saw, and she'd do anything on God's earth for them. Her just getting out of the hospital, she had done all this stuff. But she found out if she could make this alfalfa hay and make this in this water and cook it, well, he'd drink it, suck it up through his teeth. Well, he sure was liking that. Of course, he had anything to eat in a week. Next thing you had scours. I mean, it just going plumb to the other end of the barn. So that didn't work. But he finally got where we could get him out of his sling, and he walked around. Of course, he was pretty stiff, but he looked like he's going to be all right. I think it was on Christmas Day that we turned him loose, or New Year's Day. Anyway, football games were going. I guess it's New Year's because everybody wanted to look at the Super Bowl. Well, he went out there and laid down. He couldn't get up. So I told Stetson, I said, well, we'll get a winch truck and get him up. But I come in and called the nephews and had them all on their way down here. And I went out there and put a halter on him. Stetson standing back behind him, and I said, now when I pull on this halter, I said, you holler as loud as you can holler. I was pulling on that halter just as hard as I could pull. And she hollered right real loud, and that old horse just straight up. Just straight up and hit on them feet. That's the only way on God's earth he could have got up. And after that, we never did have any more trouble with him. Never did have any trouble breeding him. He just breeded, just as.
That's a tough horse.
But that was quite an ordeal.
Well, you raised such horses. You raised cattle and.
I run around 50 or 60 head of cattle. And I wish I didn't have any right now. I mean, I don't have pasture one. This has been a bad year. Yeah, I raised cotton, hay. Just got through cutting 100 acres of hay and made 33 bales off of it.
You doing this by yourself? You got a hand?
I have it. I hire it baled, but I cut it.
You cut it.
And I do all my work with my cotton other than putting the chemicals down.
I wanted to ask you about. I saw a note in here back when you were rodeoing. I had a note in here about it being in Fort Worth at the Fat Stock Show. So it was a sponsor event. Did you pick up sponsors rodeo doing it?
I won that deal when we had the invitational.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. I don't even know how many shows. It must have been about 7 or 8 shows.
And what were you doing in them?
It's when we was having those musical chairs.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
What? Tell me what you usually did in rodeo. You did roping or I mean, you said you did everything but ride the rough stock.
Well, I roped and cut and rode the barrels. And sometimes they'd have ribbon roping or something like that. Down in Jacksboro one time, they had wild cow milking. And, of course, Mr. Worthington, he always had a lot of things going on.
You talked about a couple of the rodeo horses. Debbie Leo was the one that you said, and then Hawk and Judy were 2 others.
Yeah, Judy. Judy Canova was her name.
Okay. I'm going to ask, why did you know?
I guess Judy was going strong about that time, too.
Were these the 3 main horses you rode?
Yeah.
Y'all raised them, or did you buy them?
We raised 2 of them. We raised the roping horse and the barrel, the one I rode for barrels. But of course, like I say, Mary Sue's daddy broke the mare for me, and he broke the roping horse too.
Yeah.
Of course, the roping horse actually belonged to him, but I rode it whenever I wanted to. If I wanted to go to a rodeo and he wasn't going, all I did was go get it, take off.
So how many horses did you usually haul? Just one, or?
Usually the 2, roping horse and the other horse.
Now, when you helped form the GRA, you said you were real busy most of the time. But at the beginning, how involved were you? What did y'all?
I never was very much involved with it. Like I say, I was they were having the meetings a long ways from me. Of course, I'm way out here nowhere, and I just never could go to their meetings, so of course I wasn't too involved in it.
Did, okay, well, let's leave it at that. Let's see, oh, okay, I was gonna ask you about this TV show that you were on.
Pardon?
The TV show, American Trail, said you were featured.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about that. They just come out here and wanted to take some pictures, and I did, and that's all.
Getting like pulling teeth over here. Why did they come out here?
No, really, I don't remember. I had completely forgotten that if you hadn't brought it up. I'll have to think about that a minute. I even forgot now. I do remember them taking pictures of me out here feeding my cattle out here in front of the house.
Yeah.
That was back when we were feeding square bales, and I had to throw them off the pickup. Now we're feeding round bales. That's not near as much work.
Let me see if I can. I know there was a note in here about that.
I had completely forgotten about that.
I just missed this one. There's a story about you. This was after the thing about the one about you falling off. So during another one about working with your brothers and sisters with mule teams during a sandstorm.
I don't know whether we ought to bring that up or not.
Oh, come on.
Well, I was too young to be driving mules. They was cultivating, and we'd had a big storm, and of course, after you have one of those big rains, well, have wind, sand's going to blow and kill your crop.
Yeah.
So everybody was just busy as they could be. I think about 6 4-horse cultivators were running across the field. I was just out there riding this old paint horse, and a bunch of tin had blown off different buildings. So I thought I'd help, and I went and put my rope on a piece of that tin and took off and loping down between where these horses were working. Every one of them run away. And I think they never got them horses back where they had worked again. They changed teams and mismatched them and everything else, and they still never did settle down. But they had me riding a cultivator, driving 4 horses. Before I was big enough to raise a plow out of the ground, I'd have to wait. When I got out the end, I'd have to wait till somebody come along, got that lever and raised it out of the ground so I could turn around and start back. My daddy believed on us working.
It sounds like it. The way that this goes, apparently y'all's house was a big. There was always food. There was always stuff going on, and you had dances.
Yeah, we had dances. Bob Wells played for dances here one time.
Really?
You remember Bob Wells?
Oh yeah. I was listening to Bob Wills on the way out here. Actually.
Yeah. He. My granddad and grandmother lived over here across the creek, and they had dances nearly every weekend, and Bob played for them. Bob's daddy, I think, started playing over there, and then after Bob got old enough, he played with them.
Yeah.
But I think Bob played here. We had dances here, and he played. But I was a little bitty thing then.
Oh, yeah. What were they, just a weekend? Or?
Just weekend, just friends and family come in. Just pretty small deal.
Pretty small. So y'all would eat 3 times or something or set a table twice or 3 times?
I imagine.
I'm still trying to find a thing in here about the TV show. I know I've got something.
Well, I remember it now, but I don't remember how it come about or anything about it.
All right. Did you ever want to do anything else? Anything else that ever interested you that you didn't get to do?
I think I've been the most fortunate person in the world. I've always done. I think I've done just exactly what I wanted to do all my life.
Well, I'm envious.
You know, ups and downs in farming and ranching. Cattle are up or down, and drought, and too much rain. We don't have too much rain very often, but
Not out in this place.
but really, I don't think I could have done anything that I would have ever enjoyed more.
Do you have pictures of you when you were rodeoing, or do you have any?
I let the hall have most everything I had, and I have been told by different people that they've lost everything I gave them, and whether that's true or not,
Did
I
you give
don't
them to
know.
him up when it was in
At
Hereford?
Hereford, yeah.
I think Tech has. I found it. The Southwest Collection of Tech has a whole bunch of that stuff. I've got to go down there and find it. What about your saddles and things that you won?
Well, I put the first one I won. They opened up a museum down here at Matador, and I donated it to them. And I don't know what I've done with the rest of them.
I have one.
Mary Sue's got one, and I don't think I've sold any of them, but I think I've given them all away.
I've got two. I was trying to sell that one. But I wanted too much.
Saddles aren't cheap these days. I saw prices.
Well, those have been here so long, I'm sure they're not worth much. They're probably leather in them rotten. And they haven't been used either.
Did you ever use them?
I rode them a little bit, but not much. I rode that saddle I got at Matador that first year until I got too big for it, and then I had one made.
Yeah.
That's this saddle over here.
Okay. Well, I still haven't found anything about the TV show, so I'm going to give up on it right now.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't remember anything about it.
That's all right. I was just curious.
I
about it.
had completely forgotten it.
Yeah, I don't know where all that stuff is that you sent them, because all that was in the file about you was most of it was what I've got here essentially. I don't know. Well, it's somewhere.
Well, the reason I thought perhaps it might have been lost, was in that great big old leather folder, about that big, about that wide. And it was completely full of pictures about, it wasn't only me, I kept everything that all the girls, Jackie and Thena Mae and everything that come out in the paper, I cut it out and kept it.
Yeah.
And Dixie and Margaret, all those girls that I knew, that rodeoed back when I did, we were all close because it didn't make any difference which one of us won. If we could help the other one, we did.
Yeah.
And we were just tickled to death when it's over with because it's all fun anyway. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't what I want, is going and having fun.
Were you ever tempted to go on the circuit to do
No.
some of them like Fern and Nancy?
Well, of course, difference between Fern and Jackie and them, even Judy Hayes, they had a different kind of income from what I had. I had to make what money I went on. Of course, they had oil,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and they had money coming in that I had to work for.
Yeah.
But it didn't make a bit of difference. They were just as friendly as, we were just as close as we could be when we went anywhere. But
Yeah.
they could go more than I could because they had better income.
Did y'all travel together to go to the
Quite a
rodeos?
bit.
How far away what's the furthest rodeo?
I guess furthest I went was Colorado Springs. I think, and I went to Corpus Christi one year.
Yeah.
That's furthest I ever went from home.
But, I forgot what I was going to say. Did you win?
Pardon?
Did you win?
I don't remember.
Okay. Let's see what. Have I forgotten anything so far? Good.
Did I answer him well enough?
Oh yeah.
True life.
Let's see. Let me see. This one. What are you raising now? Just some cattle?
I've just got some cows, and I'm raising cotton and hay.
You have any horses here at all?
Not a one. Somebody asked me the other day, "Do you still have some of those good horses you used to raise?" I said, "No, I haven't had any horses in 3 or 4 years." I never would have thought that had happened. I said, "Well, I wouldn't have either."
You miss the horses? Miss having them around?
Yeah, in a sense. You know, when you get where you can't halter break your colts and take care of them, it's time to quit.
Yeah.
I had two colts the year that I quit breeding mares. I had 2 colts, and I was just so stiff I couldn't see any way I could halter break them, so I took them to a trainer. I think he charged me $300 a month. He kept them 2 months. I went and got them, brought them home, turned them out. One afternoon, one of them laid down by the fence out here on the highway, got up on the other side of the fence. Didn't hurt him, he just crawled under that fence. Just when he started to get up, he went under that fence. I went out there and didn't have any trouble catching the little sucker. But he didn't even know more than about leading than he did the day I took him off. And I come in and I told Stinson, I said, "Well, that's it." And then we lost our stud, and that just killed me when we lost that stud.
Tell about the last 2 you had. Those last 2 that you had.
This lady that worked for me, she was sick quite a lot. And when she passed away, they should have been put to sleep a good while before she passed away, but she just couldn't do it. And I kept them for 2 years. One of them was 34 and the other was 28, mother and daughter.
Good night.
And one of them was the one that she showed and won so much with, the daughter. And I messed with them for a year and a half after she passed away, and it just got so bad I had to call a vet and put them down. But yeah, one of them was blind, and the young mare, her knees had give way on her. She just got where she couldn't hardly walk at all. And as long as I could get them up here where I could feed them and take care of them, I would. But they'd get off down in the pasture just as far as they could get, and I'd have to go down there and lead them back to the house. And the day I had them put down, well, I went down there and one of them was down, and I thought she was down for good, so I come down and called the vet. And he come right on over, and we got back down there, and she got up, and I said, "Well, David, I've stood it just as long as I can. Let's go ahead and do it." So we put them both down.
That's hard. Well, I'd like to take some pictures of the saddle and of your trophies and stuff that you got, and maybe
Have you?
some pictures of.
Have to it.
Okay. Is there anything I've forgotten? Anything you'd like to add to this?
I hope I've given you enough to go with.
Yeah, shouldn't be funny.
This is all new to me.
Yeah. Well, working all this, kind of having taken over this operation out here, that was kind of a hard adjustment, wasn't it?
I've done it all my life. It was just the only difference was I had to think about what I was going to do next.
No.
Because I, worked beside my dad ever since I got bigger now.
Yeah.
So all the difference was I had to think what money I was going to spend for what, and hope I had enough to buy what I had to have.
You thought about just giving it up and one live in town or something?
I hope I go from right here.
Good for you.
How many times have you tried to retire from farming?
Several. I get to thinking sometimes I ought to quit, but I don't know what I'd do if I didn't. I'm in good health as far as I know, and I like doing what I do. As long as I can do a halfway decent job, I think I might as well do it.
Oh, why not? See anything wrong with that? I'm not gonna ask those. Let's be polite. I'm gonna do that. If I want to know, I'll just.
I'm going Thursday to try to get me some hearing aids. Maybe I can hear better next time.
I'm sorry. I have a tendency to start talking quiet or to talk very fast.
Yeah, I'm sorry
It's-
but I bought hearing aids 4, 5, 6 years ago, and I could not wear them. My neighbor up here had been deaf for years, ever since he was in high school. And he's gone to this lady and had real good results, so I thought, well, I'm going to try one more time. Hope it works. I miss a lot.
What would the, since I'm talking to you, I'll just turn all this off because I don't want.
And just yearlings. And he had he had 2 bigger horses. One of them was broke, they said. And I told him, I said, we never did make any money out of our horses. I said, they paid their way, but I said, we did it more for pleasure than anything else. He said, well, I'm raising mine for money, and said, I sure hope I make some money out of these. He sure did have some pretty yearlings in that trailer. He had a great big trailer. I imagine he had 10, 15 in that trailer. Yeah, but they were, I told him after we left out, while they were fixing to leave out, I got my pickup pulled around there, and I said, I just had to come look at these colts. And they were sure a nice looking bunch of colts, and I have no idea where that man was from.
Huh.
But he knew me and knew that we'd raised horses.
Did you ever think about trying another racehorse after that one?
That's the only one we ever tried to run.
You didn't want to do another one?
That's a rich man's game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I often wonder about that, how you get into raising racehorses instead of just.
I think we had some horses probably that would have run, you know, if we'd had money enough to put them on the track.
Yeah.
But that's just like these trainers. You get a hold of a good race trainer and you get a hold of bad ones. The same way with performance horses. You know, some of them do you good, some of them won't.
Yeah. Did you ever do any train or break horses for anybody else?
No, I never did even break mine other than just halters.
Uh-huh.
When I was younger, I did ride quite a bit of them, but after I started getting a few years, I decided I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. It was always your horses. You never took in.
Oh, no. In fact, we never bred any outside mares.
Really?
Because we just didn't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
Talking about mules during the war. When Granddad raised mules to sell.
Hmm?
When Granddad raised mules to sell.
Yeah, Dad raised, of course, he had raised mules for years. And, of course, we used what we needed with the ranch, and he sold the rest of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he got to decide he wanted to use horses in place of mules, and bought a Persian horse, a stallion, Persian stallion. Now, he was a big old sucker. I got one of his horseshoes out there for a shoe cleaner.
Did he sell the mules to the
All these farmers, you know, needed mules, and I don't guess he's in trouble getting rid of them. Of course, I was pretty small when all that was going on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you learned to ride on a horse, not a mule.
Yeah. Well, when we was working, of course, back then we didn't have any trailer or anything. We left them here. When we was working cattle, we'd leave home here about 4:30 and ride to the pasture. And when we'd get down there, we'd wait about an hour and a half for it to get daylight so we'd start work. I never did figure that out.
So you did. My dad used to do that. He'd get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning, no matter what. Even when he was 75. Why are you getting up? There's nothing to do. It's dark.
Of course, Dad lived with me, and I lived with them, or whichever way you might want to put it. He never did get where he didn't like to get up early. I said, well, when I get to be my own boss, I'm going to get up whenever I get ready, but I still get up early.
Yeah. Yeah, you get into a habit for so long, I guess it's kind of hard to shed. Well, I want to take some pictures of trophies and stuff for the.
Would you like a Coke or something?
I'm still working on this water. I'm trying to rehydrate myself from being out here in the.
And that was after he had all his problems.
That was after that? Man, he looks really good.
He didn't have any problems. He had you
You sure with
guys.
it?
Yeah.